Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aiello's Attic. This is the very first episode of my brand new podcast, and I am just exceedingly excited. I am your host, Caden Aiello, and what is Aiello's Attic? What are we diving into here? Well, it's kind of just like my little audio diary, honestly. You get to hear my rambling thoughts, and hopefully, you seek something from them, or you get something out of them. I truly do not care. I am just here to talk about what I love and why I love it, and that is the entire mission statement of Aiello's Attic, is just to, start a conversation about the things that we love and the things that we hold dear to our hearts and the things that we want to keep away for as long as we possibly can. Now, with this first episode, I thought I'd dive into something a little familiar. Throughout all of our lives, I bet one of us has seen a Pixar movie. And I bet that Pixar movie might have moved you in such a way that it has stayed in your life for a very, very long time, or remained in your mind. I know for a fact that is the case with me. My very first movie in the movie theater was a Pixar movie. And I'll get to it when we get to it, but all I'll say is that Pixar throughout my life has had an immense impact on how I view storytelling and how I have learned to love movies and filmmaking. Now, when it comes to Pixar, what I love most about their studio is how much of a family their studios have become. A lot of their teams are brought over from other projects into the next one. So they grow this big and strong family of animators and storytellers, and that is nowhere more apparent than with their head of creative over there, which is Pete Docter. He's directed, Monsters Inc. He directed Up, Inside Out, Soul, and all of these movies are immensely emotional pieces that kind of are little capstones in the studio's lineup. But with the studio's lineup, there are tons and tons of stories that I absolutely, absolutely love. So I thought today it would just be nice to kind of sit back, relax, and listen to me ramble on about all 31 of Pixar's mainline films. Of course, they've made short films upon short films, Disney Plus shows and stuff and such. But I think those 31 films are a great starting point for what I want to do with Aiello's Attic, and just kind of, get you a little peek into my mind and how I work. Now, I will preface now, I want Aiello's Attic to be as genuine as it possibly can, in the sense that I am going off the cuff. I am feeling the moment, and I am feeling these feelings as I'm feeling them. I've jotted down a couple notes as I rewatch these movies because I wanted to make sure I had my most recent thoughts and feelings about these films before I dove in and started talking about them again. And so I rewatched all of them just in the last 3 months or so. And there's a lot of discoveries that I have made in these films, and there's a lot of opinions that I have that I was not expecting to have. So I'm very, very excited to dive into these with you. And please let me know what your favorite Pixar films are. I want this to be a conversation in the comments below. I know this will be uploaded on YouTube, but if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Music, what have you, Apple Podcasts, what have you, shout them out the radio. I won't hear them, but you know what? I'll feel them. I'll feel them out there. All right. So we're going to dive in straight in here with number 31. 31 of 31. This is the bottom of my list here. My least favorite Pixar film. And I won't say the worst, because I also wouldn't consider this movie to be necessarily bad. But my least favorite Pixar film is Brave. And whenever I was posting these on my socials, a lot of people love Brave, which I honestly wasn't expecting. Okay. I can understand that, like, for a lot of young girls and young women watching that movie at the time, it was very empowering. I mean, the message of the movie is very clear and very, very wonderfully well stated in that archery sequence. The scene where she completely destroys the other guy's arrow in the target and it goes through. That scene is amazing. That scene is incredible. And the movie deserves to exist alone just for that scene. But this has been the Pixar movie that's never really stuck by me. It's never really lingered that long in my brain. Like, even I watched it the day that I watched it, I couldn't remember later in the day what had happened in the movie. It's very short. It's a very brisk Pixar movie, and most of these movies are, but like for whatever reason, Brave in the way that's paced, it doesn't get to the main central idea of the mother turning into the bear fast enough for me. Obviously, the conflict is about how, Merida doesn't want to marry; she wants to be her own person, and she doesn't want her life to be defined by this planned marriage that her parents have basically signed her up for, and so, but her mother is like tradition. This is how it is, and this is how it should be, and the whole conflict is about changing your fate and paving a new way for yourself. But I think just the idea, just the way that it's presented, the way the idea is presented, is not the most compelling to me. What you'll find in these future episodes, and as long as I do this podcast, you will find that I am not the biggest fan of like mythical fantasy. It just has never like clicked with me the best. Like, I think Lord of the Rings is the best form of that. Lord of the Rings is perfect, and it's the best form of that. But like movies like Willow, movies like Willow's the one coming to mind right now. But like those mythical fantasy films are not usually my style. Like Game of Thrones also is a world that like I have yet to dive into and have no desire to. Not saying that Brave is anything close to Game of Thrones, but I'm just saying that style, that kind of rustic, like grimy mythology that I just haven't been a fan of in the past. So just the aesthetic alone, Brave kind of already loses points for me. But just the movie just is kind of boring to me, and I have the least amount of feelings about Brave, and like whenever I think about it, I don't feel a lot, and so I think that alone kind of makes it my least favorite. So for me, this is a 2 out of 5 for me, and this ranks 31 on my list. But the next movie, number 30 on my list, I have a lot of feelings about. Honestly, if Brave didn't make me feel nothing, this would be my least favorite because of just how angry it makes me feel. So let me rant to you a little bit about number 30, Incredibles 2. Okay? So when I watched this movie for the first time in the theater, I was a whimsical 13-year-old. No, was I 13? 12? It was 12. I was a whimsical 12-year-old child, very excited to watch anything being presented for me. And so when I watched it, I was like, that was great. That was awesome. It had been 14 years since the first one came out. And I was like, I thought it was really cool that they were coming back for a sequel. So I was excited. I was ready for it. And I loved it. I loved watching it in the theater. I distinctly remember, or vividly remember, the opening Disney title sequence with the castle being draped in all of the retrofuturism of the Incredibles, red and stuff, and the orange. It looked really cool. And I was like, ooh, this is nice. It's a new Incredibles movie. We're very excited for it. However, as time has gone on, my feelings on this movie have soured greatly. Honestly, it's not even this film's fault, to be completely fair. It's just because of how good the first movie is. And we'll get to the first movie when we get to it. But just to give a little context, the first Incredibles movie is one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. So whenever you line up to make a sequel, it better be on par. Not to pun not intended, but maybe it is. It's gotta be good, at least. And Incredibles 2 is so aggressively fine of a movie. It's not bad. It's just really, really, really fine. It's completely fine. But with Incredibles, it can't just be fine. Incredibles 1 is incredible. I didn't even mean to do that. It's just kind of how my words started to come out. But the first Incredibles is fantastic. And Incredibles 2 tries to bask in that glory, but it does not have anything interesting to say. The Screenslaver, as a villain, is mildly interesting at the very start because of the mystery it imposes. And let me just get this out of the way. Incredibles 2 is just the first movie, but the roles reversed. So Bob is with the kids, and then, Helen is with the working for Bob Odenkirk's character. But I forgot his name. But he's working for that division, and she's doing all of the hero work so that one day heroes can be recognized again. Which, again, setting this movie just 3 months after the first movie, I think was also a disservice. I don't know why supers were just not given the go ahead at the end of the first Incredibles movie. I don't know why this movie kind of had to be them getting legalized again. Like, I would have assumed that after the first Incredibles, they were back in the limelight. I understand from a writing perspective, it's much more interesting to drag that out a little bit and make it not so much of a black and white thing that the conflict of the first movie resolved. But I don't know. I like, it kind of makes Incredibles 2 just kind of feel like this, like, oh, we're kind of just doing this again. We're trying to go after the same thing again. So I don't know. I think all the Jack stuff is really fun, and but I don't know, man. I really just think that this should have been so much better than it was. And I have no reason to rewatch this. I just would watch the first Incredibles. I have no reason to watch Incredibles 2. Also, the villain just sucks. The reveal, just the idea that supers are already illegal, and the villain of this movie is trying to keep them illegal by making them think that they could be legal again, but then are going to ruin it for themselves again. So, like, they were already illegal. Why are you going out of your way to do this? It's very, very dumb. It's very dumb. And just to be compared with Syndrome as the villain of the first movie, which we'll get to, oh my God. Come on, guys. I know Brad Bird can direct a movie, but this was not it, my friend. I love you. This was not it. Anyway, so that's Incredibles 2. That's how I feel about that. That is also a 2 out of 5 for me. But yeah, so that is my number 30 spot. In number 29, we got a movie that I was extremely excited for when it first was announced. And number 29 is Lightyear. This was announced as the movie that Andy saw that made him want to go buy a Buzz Lightyear figure from the first Toy Story movie. This movie, just going off of that concept alone, Lightyear cannot possibly be the movie that Andy saw. It feels like the gritty reboot of Buzz Lightyear, of that original Buzz Lightyear movie that Andy saw. It feels like the 2022, the modern reimagining of Buzz Lightyear. I don't believe that this movie came out in the 90s. It couldn't have come out in the 90s. I don't care what wizardry they had in the Toy Story world in terms of filmmaking, but it could not. But that honestly doesn't bother me that much. The concept is completely fine. It's just like, it's just the style of the movie in terms of like the style and the vision for it do not match up for me. Other than that, I actually kind of like parts of this movie. Now, some people would have this movie at last place, and I kind of would get that. But the movie is visually very beautiful. It's a very beautifully animated movie, I think. I think Chris Evans does a completely fine job for what the material he was given. But above all, this movie just kind of like recycles the beats of Interstellar, of Chris Nolan's space classic. but to a less emotional degree. I will say the opening like montage, whenever he keeps on replaying or repeating the mission and keep on trying to go out to try to fix their hyperspeed so they can get off the planet. That montage of time passing and the 7 years that he's missing every time that he goes out is really beautiful. And I like the dynamic and friendship he has with his with Hawthorne, with his friend. Um, and I thought that was really sweet, and I thought that was really beautiful. But the movie kind of just gets really boring and dull whenever the other Space Ranger rookies get involved, and we got to go fight Zurg, who's actually fucking Buzz from the future, and he's old now. That reveal sucked. Everything about the villain sucks. I do like that it's Zurg, and it is cool seeing like a cool like actual Zurg menacing costume. But then when you get the reveal that it's just Buzz Lightyear from the future, it's the weirdest thing. And like it's like, what movie am I watching right now? This is so strange. What a strange choice we've made here. Yeah, I think this movie is just thematically and conceptually confused at what it's trying to be. But I will say, I think Socks is funny. Again, I like seeing Zurg as a menacing character in the scenes that we see before he's revealed as Buzz. I like the central conflict that Buzz has. I think the idea of Buzz fighting an older version of himself is interesting with the conflict given, but just as a Buzz Lightyear movie, this is the strangest choice you could have made. I wish they just made like an 80s pulp I don't know, sci-fi epic with Buzz Lightyear, like akin to the cartoon that came out in the early 2000s. Like, what was that? The Adventures of Buzz Lightyear and Star Command. That was like that's kind of like what I was hoping from this, and this is just not it. So with that, I have this at a 3.5. I might change that to a 2.5. I have this at a 3 out of 5. I might change that to a 2.5 out of 5. That seems a little bit more likely to me. That seems a little bit more how I'm feeling about this. So I'll say 2.5 out of 5 for number 29, which is Lightyear. Moving on. Sue me, guys. Number 28 is Cars 2. I had fun on this most recent rewatch. I had fun. I forgot how much I actually like Mater. For whatever reason, I gaslit myself into thinking I didn't like Mater. I thought he would like. I bought into all of the talk about him being like, oh, he's like, he's such an annoying character. He's awful. Lightning McQueen and his friendship are very, very sweet. I will say it's not the best in this movie. And it's really not good in this movie. But there are moments. In this movie that they do shine. But yeah, I had fun. I think while Finn McMissile is the dumbest character that Pixar has ever written, I think his theme is really awesome. Michael Giacchino went hard for Cars 2. He went crazy. When that guitar gets going, in that first opening scene, I'm going, oh, is this a good movie? That opening sequence is actually pretty great. There are some shots in that first sequence that I'm like, oh my god, they had a vision. They wanted to make a spy Cars movie, and yeah, by God, they did it some of the time. But yeah, I think a Cars 2 genuinely is perfectly inoffensive. I think it is a fun little film that I enjoy. I think the action is fun. I think the mystery, like the actual central spy mystery, and how like layered in car politics it is very funny. Like, I like the idea that all of these car brands, like what they call what Mater calls the lemon cars, because they're called lemons because they don't work as often, or they're not as reliable as other cars. I like that they're trying to rise up against this new oil, because they want to go back to gas powered machinery in the Cars world. I think the politics of the world are very funny, and I already don't take this world very seriously at all. So I'm not offended by this movie. I think it has some funny ideas. Again, Mater's kind of funny. I think Holly Schiffwell and Finn McMissile, I know these names, are really bad characters, but I don't really care. I like seeing Lightning McQueen. I think Lightning McQueen's a fun guy. I like watching him race. I like watching him do that. But it definitely is the weakest of the Cars movies by far. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Cars 2 is fun. Cars 2 is fun, has a good score, and Spy Cars fights are fun. So that's a 3 out of 5 for me, and number 28 on our list. Number 27 is a movie that I thought was going to be last. So, by God, I was surprised when The Good Dinosaur made it up to number 27. So, fourth to last. I was impressed. Or fourth to last, no, fifth to last, sorry. I I think this movie is beautiful looking, and it's hard not to give credit to that. I think there's a vision from Peterson in terms of the world that he wanted to make, and how these dinosaurs had shaped the land around them. And I think it's really cool. I think that idea is really cool. However, the central concept of just like the meteor missed, and in 20,000 years the dinosaurs just got to farming. I mean, I guess that's what humans did, but I don't know. Like, I wish the world was just a little bit more interesting. It's too kind of like desktop background for me. Like the landscapes are beautiful, but like to what purpose does that serve for this dinosaur world? Arlo's cute. I love the I love the opening. I love the opening of this movie. I think seeing his dynamic with his father. I will say his father's really dumb for taking him out in the storm. And I when he died, I don't really feel that much when he dies. I mean, I feel for Arlo, but like, dude, this was the dumbest time to do this. You were getting consumed by the idea of Arlo finding his purpose. That you forced him into this dangerous situation, and then you died, and then you got flooded. Like, okay, all right. But what I wasn't expecting to love, I genuinely was not expecting this, is how much I love Arlo and Spot. When I saw this in theaters, because I did see this in theaters, I didn't think much of this movie, and I didn't like find their dynamic very fun or like heartwarming. But damn, I really loved it this time around. I really did. I thought it was really adorable. I thought it was just really, really sweet to see like this human little rabbit child as this little like dog pet for this dinosaur. I think it's very cute. I think that dynamic is a really, really interesting dynamic and visually striking of just a dinosaur being the owner, quote unquote. You know what I mean, being the owner of this little rabid boy dog. I think that's just funny to me. And there's some beautiful sequences in here, like with the fireflies and with the stick sequence when they're on the beach and they're representing their families with these sticks and they topple them over for the ones that have passed. That was very powerful. That's like every Pixar movie has that one scene, and that is the scene for The Good Dinosaur. But yeah, I got really choked up at the ending of this whenever Spot goes and whenever Arlo gives up Spot and he goes off with his family. I have a thing for whenever like animated characters show like realistic emotion. Though the idea of an animator realistically capturing a subtle movement in the face is something that is super impressive to me. I love it. I love it a lot. Yeah. So The Good Dinosaur is number 27 for me. I think the only other things I can really talk about in terms of things I didn't like is just, again, the world is very uninteresting to me. The other dinosaurs in here don't leave an impact at all. Not the Rancher T-Rexes or the Steve Zahn the Steve Zahn pterodactyl villain. Yeah, they just don't do much for me. But The Good Dinosaur surprised me a little bit. The Good Dinosaur, I'll call it good. Quote in quotes. It's good. It's a good movie. Now, at number 26, we have a movie that kind of is similar and Brave, where I don't have a lot of thoughts about it, but I like it more. I just like it more in general. And that's Elemental. I think the general concept for Elemental is very uninteresting. It's just, what if elements lived in a city? That's all it is. That's all it is. Where the interesting part of the plot comes in is they treat the fire people as immigrants. They immigrated to the elemental city where they once lived in a like a fire town. They immigrate into a place that is not built for them, and so they have to adapt to it. And I thought that was really powerful. I will not speak on any sort of I will not speak on that theme in terms of like anything I personally know. But I think as a creative story, I think it is a beautiful choice to do that. And Peterson, the man who directed this and The Good Dinosaur, I've seen in interviews he talked about having an immense impact on how this story, was written and portrayed, and how what he wanted to communicate with this. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was beautiful in terms of the creator's voice being showcased in this film, which is something that Pixar should continue to do. Please, that was a direct call out to you, Peter Doctor. But other than that, I find the romance between Ember and Wade to be very, 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 very good. I don't think it's anything crazy. It's nothing like I get like super emotionally attached to. There are some very cute monologues and lines in this movie that I do find very, very sweet. But I just didn't really don't really have too many thoughts about this movie. I think it's a pretty good movie. I like that it's about them trying to save Ember's shop, and I do love this. This is my favorite part of this movie. I love that it is about Ember realizing that what she's been set up to do all of her life isn't the thing that she actually wants to do. I think that's a conflict that you don't see a lot in movies nowadays. In terms of, she was very excited and willing to take over the shop for her father because that was his dream, and she thought that was her dream as well. And I love that throughout the movie, the existence of Wade and his conversations with her start to make her realize, oh my gosh, I don't want to own the shop. I don't want that to be my life. I think I can do so much more than that. But I love that it was like something within her that was hidden away, that in her character, you don't even see that until she starts hanging out with Wade. It's a very, very, really nuanced way of portraying dreams and what they mean to us and who they mean to us for. Like, are they like, is it because we are under the dreams of our parents and we want to do what they want to do because they want us to fulfill that dream and push it forward and keep it going and outlast us in our legacy? Or do we want to stray away from that? Do we and what will the people that are looking down on us to do that for will think, if that makes sense? I think I was rambling that a little bit and I got a little muddled, but I kind of think I got what I wanted to get out there. But I love that. I love that is a choice for this movie in terms of its conflict, and its central character-driven conflict is, do I really want to do what my father wants me to do? I thought I did. I really thought I did. But is it really what I want to do? I'm not sure. And then here comes this hot water guy that's like, whoa, maybe you don't have to do that. No, who gets to tell you who you can be, I thought that was really nice. So for me, I didn't say the last one. The Good Dinosaur is a 3 out of 5 for me. Elemental, number 26, is going to be a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Now, number 25. Number 25, guys. We've got probably my most divisive choice on this list. And it's a movie that I love deeply. I do. But I love it for certain moments. I think there are some moments in this movie that are top 5 Pixar moments. But the overall film is not nearly what I think it could be. So number 25 is Soul. Now, when I first watched this movie, I loved it. I loved it because the way that it ended tricked me into thinking I liked the whole movie. So on this latest rewatch, I really made sure to examine the whole movie. And I think while the first 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes and the last 25 minutes are fantastic, I think that middle chunk is very, 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 very uninteresting to me. And I understand the purpose of it. And there are moments in that middle chunk that I do like. But the overall adventure and the whole body swap shenanigans, I just don't like. I just don't like it's presented that way. I love that Joe is in the cat and he's basically like giving 22 all these opportunities in his body to live life and to like realize what it's all about. And I love that we get to see it through her perspective. But I just don't like that he's in a cat. I just don't like that he's in a cat. I wish there was a better way to showcase that movie. I wish there was a better way that they did it. Because I love those first 20 minutes. I think just watching an anime movie about a man that just wants to, who's a teacher, who wants to be more than a teacher, who wants to, play in this jazz band down the street with a famous musician that he loves so much, and he gets the gig and he's so excited, and then he dies. That's like extremely powerful. And the scene of him on like looking out the great beyond and then trying to escape is it's so cool. It's so dark for Pixar, but like in an ethereal, existential way. This is a very existential movie, and I love it so much for that. But again, I think that middle chunk really bogs it down for me. It stops me from rewatching the whole movie, and if I want to watch this movie, I'll just go to the scenes. Like I'll just like watch the scenes I want to watch. I love that. I love that little emotional, little motivational monologue that I forgot the musician's name, but the famous musician in the movie, where she's like, there were these two fish, and one of the fish was like, I want to go to the ocean, and the other fish says, well, you're in the ocean right now, and then the other fish says, no, this is water. I want to go to the ocean. It's basically just like you're going to keep punching up towards the nearest ceiling, and that ceiling is never going to be able to contain your greatness. You need to be able to be willing to accept where you're at and know that where you're at might be where you're supposed to be. And something about that is very beautiful to me. Is very, very beautiful to me. Again, great moments. The epiphany sequence. That track by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. They did the score for this. A beautiful sequence. It was just him at the piano with the pieces of the life that 22 had lived in front of him, seeking inspiration. I know I've done that before. I've laid things on my sheet music rack and literally looked at them and found motivation to write music. That was immensely relatable to me as a musician. I thought that was wonderful. Again, top 5 Pixar moment in a mid-tier, where we've entered the mid-tier of Pixar movies, in a mid-tier Pixar film, overall Pixar film. I hate to say it. I really do. But that's just how I feel. This is a 3.5 for me. But again, some wonderful, I'm so glad it got made. I the existence for these scenes alone, I'm very happy it got made, but it's not exactly what I would have loved from this movie. So number 25 is Soul. Number 24, we've got another sequel here. A pretty unneeded sequel, but one that I'm happy we got nonetheless. And that is Finding Dory. Now, again, I don't have much to say about this one other than it's just a good time. It's a nice little time back in the world of Finding Nemo. I love these characters, and I'm glad to see that they haven't gotten worse or better, honestly, for that matter. Just kind of like they're the same that they were in Finding Nemo, and they're back, and they're going to be doing another shenanigan. I mean, it's fun to see Marlin more open to learning new ideas and adapting to situations because of all that he's experienced in the first movie. I'm glad that Nemo's along for the ride, so we have more dynamic and knowing of the character of Nemo. I like how eager he is as a little clownfish. Like he literally has done, both him and Marlin have done the absolute worst. So while I do think it's interesting how Marlin does bring along Nemo for this adventure, I think it's funny that there's not a single scene at the beginning of the movie where Marlin's like, "No, Nemo, you can't come. You can't come. There's no way. I'm not going to let you go out there and get lost again." There's no scene like that. Like, he just brings them along anyway. So I thought that was a little interesting. But other than that, I do like their dynamic and seeing them as a father and son being able to interact. And Dory here is nice. I mean, like, I love Dory in the first Finding Nemo. I think her purpose is completely justified as this foil to Marlin and this character that helps him grow within that movie. But as a main character, as a lead, I just don't find Ellen DeGeneres Ellen DeGeneres Fish that compelling. I mean, her flashbacks and her motivation is very sweet, but her as a character is not extremely dynamic. Now, a character that I love a lot from this movie, and this definitely has to do with my bias because it's my favorite animal, and that is Hank, the Septipus. I love this guy. He's awesome. He's so cool. I mean, I just love octopi, or septipi in this case. I think they're just really cool creatures, and I love how smart they are. I love all the little like just the little facts about them of just like how intelligent they are. I find them just very interesting. So just to see a fun animated octopus in a main Pixar movie is just that's gonna give you points. I'm sorry, just on the fact that you got my favorite animal in there. And I think the environment of the Ocean Institute is cool. I like that Sigourney Weaver is like the narrator throughout the whole thing. It's fun. Yeah, I got little to say about this one, but it's a pretty good return to the Finding Nemo world. Again, didn't need to be made, but you know what? Glad it was. So this is a 3.5 for me as well. Number 23 is a movie that I loved when I first came out. Similar to Soul, honestly, in this sense. But for different reasons, I've kind of fallen back on it. Number 23 is Turning Red. First of all, Ludwig Göransson, the absolute masterclass of a composer that he is, goes bonkers on this score. And I love the original music that Phineas and Billie Eilish did for the score. Fantastic. And I love the characters. I will say I found them a little bit annoying in this latest rewatch, and I kind of hate that I felt that way because I didn't find them annoying when I first watched the movie, but for whatever reason they didn't click with me as well on this rewatch. But I do love their dynamics, and I love how much of the sisterhood they have. And May, I do love May. May's great. I think just the overall concept of this movie being this growing up tale about, you know, puberty, getting older, all of these things that start changing within us, you know, and seeing that perspective in a Pixar film and presented so openly, I thought was brave. I thought it was just extremely important. I love when a movie treats quote unquote taboo subjects as if they're which, let me rephrase that, not taboo, that's the wrong word I'm trying to look for. I guess uncouth is maybe not, that's not what I'm looking for either. Everything in this movie, what I'm trying to say is everything in this movie is completely normal and should be portrayed, and anyone that has a problem with topics and themes and ideas presented in this movie, in a quote unquote kids movie, anyone that has a problem with that is a little ridiculous. Calm down a little bit. Everything in Turning Red is completely fine and it's just a movie, guys. It's a movie that's telling a story, and this is the story and the things that it's talking about. Okay, I love it. I love that Disney. I'm glad that Disney just was cool with making it, you know, because it's very this is one of those concepts in movies that could have gotten killed in the studio executive uh, phase. Like they see the concept, they go, "Oh, teenage girl, going, allegory for getting a period. Oh, you know what? This is too much for us at Disney. We're gonna cancel this." No, this isn't. This movie is so much more than that too. It's it is unfair for it to be relegated to that. But anyway, getting off my soapbox, I think this movie is really really beautiful in a lot of ways. I loved just the like the just the Asian mythology of it all. The red panda myth is really cool, and the way that it's all presented, and the way that all of the women in this family have their pandas, ingrained in jade, to be released at the end of the movie, obviously. But I love that they carry that with them. They carry that weight with them at all times. I think it's a really cool allegory for that. But yeah, and the music's great. Four Town's awesome. I'm a Four Town fan. I'm a Four Townie. But yeah, I just don't think it resonated as much this time around. But yeah, it is a 3.5 for me. That's Turning Red. Good time, love it. Dummy Shi needs to make more Pixar movies. Like I'm excited because I think she's doing a musical for them. I think Pixar's doing like their first like full length musical. And Dummy Shi is directing that. Very very excited about that. That'll be on my radar for sure. As if not all Pixar movies in the future are not on my radar. But yeah, number 22, we got Cars. We got Vroom Vroom Radiator Springs Cars. I love Cars. Love Cars. We've entered the great tier now. All these movies coming up are I consider great movies. Cars is just a really nice, laid back time. I think it is a wonderful just relaxation watch. Obviously that first opening racing sequence is just like really nice and kind of like gritty. Gritty is not maybe not the right word, but like I don't know, grungy. I'm trying to figure out the aesthetic that I'm looking for, but maybe you could sift through and see what I'm trying to talk about. But I like the opening sequence a lot. Life is a highway. I'm gonna ride it all night long. Radiator Springs is a place that I've had a lot of contention with in terms of the Cars movies and the characters within it. I gaslit myself before this rewatch that I didn't care that much about Radiator Springs. And I will say, for the first half of this movie, I really don't. The first half of Cars is kind of boring to me. It's a little boring. Not a lot boring. Just a little boring. I find Mater to be very charming. I think Sally's a very sweet character. But the other residents never really resonated with me as much. But then Lightning McQueen and Sally go on that drive, and they go to the tire motel, the low tire motel, flat tire motel. Forgot what it's called, but it's the motel on the hill. But then they go there, and she talks about the backstory and how the interstate was built, and that stopped all of the tourism to Radiator Springs, and they lost all their jobs and their money, or not all their jobs, but all their money and all their funding, and the place got put into shambles, and they're just looking for people to find the love of driving again, because I think a really interesting allegory for living, and just I think this was a very interesting point to release this movie, because the message that it's stating is like the interstate just got people where they need to be, but the highway was all about the interstate just got people where they need to be, but the roads and stuff, and the way that it drove around the land, and the way that it molded to the way the land was built, it put a lot of living in the driving, of these characters in this world. And I think that's a really sweet allegory for, technology advancement, in the way that knowledge now, we're just trying to get to the next thing in terms of like, this is the thing we need to know. Where knowledge kind of came from going on a shelf, finding a book, opening it up, and seeing what you could find, you know? Like, I might be reading into that a little bit too much, but I think that's definitely a interpretation you can kind of pull from that. Not that, like, Cars is a... the way that I'm talking about it sounds like Cars is like this immensely convoluted and introspective piece. But no, I think there's something to say about what that backstory and Sally has to say in that. But yeah, that was kind of my takeaway from that. But then the second half of this movie is really sweet because I think the characters really shine because whenever they become the pit crew for Lightning and they really show support for him. And Doc, I didn't talk about Doc yet. Doc Hudson, what an amazing mentor character. Like for this kind of sports, the sports movie, pretty much. It's a great old mentor character where he never got to say when he was done. You know, the injuries kind of took him out, and he wasn't ready for that. Yeah, I love Doc, and you'll see why I love Doc a little bit more because if you've been keeping track, this is just Cars 1. We're still got one more Cars to go in terms of this list. So yeah, we'll get to that. But number 22 is Cars, and that's landing at a 4 out of 5 for me. Love me some Cars. Number 21, A Bug's Life. Little bug, hardly there. Thank you, Randy. I love Bug's Life, man. What a great movie about like I don't know, like an evil caste system. Like like it's awesome. Like it's the fact that like DreamWorks tried to put ants out next to this is crazy because this movie is so much more interesting and fun. I will say, I feel like this has been a trend for these lower tier or these movies like lower on the list, I guess, a little bit. But the central conflict of, Flick getting these bugs, these circus bugs, to be warrior bugs, and then there's like a lie reveal. There's like, oh, now we got to keep the facade up. It's like, that's kind of like, a little contrived to me, just like having seen other movies in my life and being like, okay, it's not the most interesting part. But those characters, the circus bug's really fun. Love Francis. Love the stick bug. Love Heimlich, man. Heimlich being the name for him is very funny, and I think I just realized that just now. So, love that. Voiced by the impeccable and very talented Joe Ranft. R.I.P. A absolute powerhouse in terms of getting these first, 5 Pixar films written and made and developed. His last movie was Cars that he worked on before he passed away. But yeah, he was an integral part of Toy Story and Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., My Finding Nemo, Incredibles, and Cars. So yeah, absolutely wonderful human being. But back to Bug's Life. I mean, Hopper is great. I mean, I wish he wasn't voiced by I'm forgetting his name. Forgetting names is kind of like the trend of this podcast so far, which is pretty fun. But oh gosh, what's his name? He's like the worst guy ever. Well, he's one of the worst guys. There's a lot of worst guys in Hollywood. Oh man, completely forgot. And maybe it's better that way. Hopper, but Hopper as a villain is really great. I love Hopper. I think he's really intimidating, really scary. Like he just kills like 3 grasshoppers of his own just to show a point. It's really crazy. And I just love the idea that these grasshoppers know that these ants, if they wanted to, could kill all of them, could kill all the grasshoppers. And they just have to instill fear in them because if there's fear, no one will get out of line. I think that's a really crazy message for your second animated film in your studio. That's awesome. Like they kind of like hit some really, really interesting dynamics in this movie, like right off the bat. I think the third act is really bombastic, and it really inspired me greatly. I love so it's funny. I'm super scared of bugs in real life. I don't like looking at them. I don't like them flying around me. I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to bugs. However, I think the world of bugs is very interesting to me. I've always wanted to make like a stop motion animated movie about a cricket with a little sewing needle as a sword. basically trying to, his entire journey is just trying to get from one side of the street to the other. But it's all presented because he's super fucking small, and everything around him is so ginormous in scale, and this world that was almost built to kill him. And he's kind of like charting it in spite of that. I think this is a fun concept. Anyway, that was just a little ramble side tangent. Bug's Life greatly inspired me in terms of that because of the bombastic third act, and the flaming bird and the tree, and then like, I love when characters look visually beat up in the third act of their movie, if they're like, if they're fighting, if it calls for it, obviously. But I love that Flick has like a black eye, and he's like standing up, and the fire's lighting him up in his face. Hopper's backlit with the fire, and he's walking towards him. He puts his foot on his face. It's gnarly. It gets gnarly, this Bug's Life movie. But yeah, it's a real good time. And the score, Randy, we're going too hard for these bugs, Randy. Come on, man. Little bug. Thank you, Randy. Yeah. Bug's Life is a 4 out of 5 for me. Ranking 21 on our list so far. Up next, number 20. We got Cars 3. Who would have? I did not see this coming. No one saw this coming. It raced by. But Cars 3 is my favorite Cars movie. And that is a hot take. My buddy Ev loves the first Cars movie. And I think if he saw that Cars 3 was my favorite Cars movie, he'd, I don't know, get a hernia, have a heart attack. I don't know. I hope not. but yeah, Cars 3 is my favorite Cars movie just because I love the trope of the washed up guy. The washed up guy that's getting outclassed by the rookies, and everyone's telling him his time is up, but he's not ready for it to be up. I love that story. You could do that story 1 billion times, and I wouldn't get tired of it. I truly wouldn't. This movie presents that concept in such a dynamic and very, very earnest way that I just can't help not to love it. Seeing Lightning McQueen, who we saw as a rookie in the first movie, be the new, Strip Weathers or Chick Hicks or Doc Hudson. Dynamics to Doc Hudson are really lined up in this movie for the parallels to him in this movie for Lightning McQueen. And the way that he inspires Cruz, basically his rookie in this movie, to step up to the plate and to understand that, yeah, maybe his time is up. And he's going to keep racing it for as long as he can, but he's got to find new avenues before, time catches up with him. And so he becomes, the guy in the chair. He becomes their, forgot what the word was, but, their, I don't want to say grandmaster. That's not what that, or grand marshal. That's what the guy that starts your engines. That's what he does. No, but he becomes the guy in the chair for Cruz in terms of giving her advice and pushing her to her absolute limits. And Jackson Storm is just it's just a dick, and I kind of love him as an antagonist for this. He really gets in Lightning's head, and I think it's really, really cool to see that for him. I also think the animation of this movie is really good. I've never loved the way that the cars moved in the Cars movies. I've never loved it. In the Cars 3, they move the absolute best. I think the way they move is really cool. I think the animation is really well done. And I think Mater is used perfectly in this movie. There's just enough Mater in this movie. Also, Lightning calling Mater just because he needed to talk late at night was the sweetest thing I think I've ever seen. I just love that he called Mater. I mean, that is his best friend. I know. But he could have called Sally, He could have called, I don't know. He called Mater. And that just makes me I just love that, I just love that Lightning McQueen loves Mater. I love that he loves him dearly. I just think that's very sweet and gets me emotional a little bit thinking about it. I don't know why. Their relationship and brotherhood is brotherly relationship is very sweet. It feels like, it feels like brothers. It's very sweet. But yeah, I love Cars 3. I don't know what that noise was. I love that Doc kept on talking about Lightning and just so proud of kind of raising him up into this race car that he is now. Yeah, I don't know. I love all of Doc's old friends. They're the Moonshiners. It's great. I love Cars 3. All right, 4 out of 5. We're in and out. Here we go. Number 19 is Onward. All right, this is Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. This Dan Scanlon directed. Another Dan Scanlon movie is going to be later on this list that I will talk in depth about. But Onward, it kind of strikes that balance for me. It is that mystical fantasy, mythical world, but first of all, it's presented in a much more interesting way on the offset. But it's also in this like modern world that literally phased out magic for technology, which I find very funny. That's a very funny concept. But yeah, what a weird movie, you know? It's about two brothers escorting their father's legs to complete the spell that will bring their father back to life for a day. They're just trying to spend a day with him, which is already very sweet. But yeah, I absolutely love the weird and wackiness of this movie. Also, just because I've noticed it, someone tallied down how much I say absolutely, because I say that a lot. I think that's one of my things. That's like one of my words. I'm gonna learn a lot about myself through this podcast. So I think absolutely is a thing that I just keep on saying. But you know what? Who cares? But I do. I think it's a very interesting dynamic to have this weird, wacky story being fulfilled with so much magic and creativity in terms of how these mythical creatures are existing in this modern day world, in this modernized world, I should say, not modern day. But I love that it's just about, you know, Ian's trying to trust Barley in terms of, you know, knowing his best judgment on whether he's wanting to make this one of his adventures or is truly trying to get the quest done and trying to save their dad. I think the one thing that I don't love about this movie, and that kind of brings it down just a little bit for me, is I wish the adventure itself was just a little bit more fun. It is fun. Don't get me wrong. It is really fun. I wish it was just a little bit more visually interesting. You have this whole mythical world, and you don't do a lot with it. I like the biker pixies. I like that sequence. I like that it's like, you know, he's teaching him how to merge and stuff. I love the entire plot of Barley kind of being the fatherly figure, quote unquote, for Ian in his life, and because Ian never met his dad, and that sequence with Ian talking with the recording of his dad and like filling in the blanks, that is a wonderful sequence. I don't think when I watched that, I'd never seen a movie do that before. Like just and as an idea for a sequence with a passed on character is like a recording that you're filling in the blanks for, in an attempt to have a desperate glimpse of interaction with them. Any sort of little thing you could get, you know, Ian tries to do it. I thought that was very powerful. And then that ending. Now, I do think that it could have been better set up that Barley was kind of the father figure for Ian, because I think it is a little bit of cheating in the emotional moment for this movie when he realizes this, to show us flashbacks that we didn't get to see. If we got like a little montage at the beginning of the movie with Barley and Ian like growing up and like we got to see kind of their lives, I think that would have been a little bit more sweet because we would have seen that. But I think that reveal is a tiny bit half baked, tiny bit, but it's still powerful. It still makes me emotional. But what makes me more emotional is the scene that comes right after, because Ian is like, "Hey, Barley, you knew Dad, so you have honestly more of a reason to go and see him again because you literally miss your dad. And he got taken away from you. So I want you to go meet him. I'm gonna hold back the dragon here." And so the staging of the sequence of Ian looking out through the cracks in the rubble to see Barley meet his dad or see his dad again and have that interaction. The music, oh my god, I'm thinking about it right now and I'm getting all chills in my body. It's really sweet. It's really sweet. Yeah, I deeply love that sequence, and I think that sequence alone kind of bumps it up a half star for me. Which this would normally kind of be maybe a 3.5, but with that, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. Onward is great. I'm just now realizing in real time that I should have gotten water for this. I don't got water by me. I've been talking at a million miles a minute without any water for an hour now without any water. So you know what? We're going to do these next three, and we're going to take a little break, and then we'll be back to finish out the list. So stay with me, folks. Glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Love you guys. Number 18. What a surprise. What a surprise. This came out last year. No one saw it. $25 million the opening weekend. What a travesty. What a travesty, I say, because Aiello is damn good. Damn good movie, Aiello is. First of all, let's talk score. Rob Simonson, I don't know how to say his name, but he did the score for Ghostbusters Afterlife and Deadpool and Wolverine. Pretty great little composer kind of coming up right now. I say coming up. He's done a bunch of stuff. I've only noticed him more. That's what I mean. The score for this is beautiful. One of my favorite Pixar scores. I'm not even kidding. The Aiello Suite is gorgeous. One of my favorite animated scores I've ever listened to. Now, Aiello as a movie is something that I was not looking forward to at all. The trailers didn't look that very interesting. Little did I know, it was hiding one of the most heartwarming, cute little movies I've ever watched. Truly. First of all, there's a talking heads needle drop in the beginning of this movie that kind of had me on board immediately, and I went, oh, same as it ever was. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I love it. But Aiello and Glorden are the cutest little friendship ever. Like they're a top tiered Pixar friendship to me. And the score that accompanies them as they're hanging out is so beautiful. I will say this. And this might be a little weird. I do not remember most of this movie, but I remember how the movie made me feel. And I remember the images and the moments that it filled within me. And that's a little bit more important to me. I'll be so honest with you. The plot of this movie is basically about Aiello, because I'm gonna pitch it to you, because I'm gonna bet that you have not watched Aiello, so you need to watch it. Well, I'm gonna pitch it to you. So it's basically about Aiello, who is this kid that really, 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 really wants to go to outer space because he feels like he'll belong more out there than he does on Earth. Why does he feel that way? Because his parents died, and his aunt is raising him, and he does not feel a connection to her at all, even though she's trying her best. But she works for NASA or a space organization of some sort. And basically, Aiello sends out a transmission into space while he's at her work, and that calls and he basically calls himself the leader of Earth, or they assume that he's the leader of Earth because that's who they take. And so basically, he presents himself as the leader of Earth to this organization and council of space people and aliens, while this invading alien is trying to basically take over because he didn't get chosen to be a part of the council. All that jazz. I do think the villain and antagonist is very, very, very dull in terms of like the dynamics for the actual movie itself. However, I almost don't care because they give us Glorden, who is the son of this antagonist character, and just the existence of Glorden and his dynamic makes the antagonist much more interesting just by that degree. So while I do think the antagonist is half-baked, I think everything else in this movie is great, and I want to watch it again right now. It made me sob like a baby, which like I long for when Pixar does that. I love it when Pixar does that, and I haven't had a recent Pixar movie make me cry in a minute. Like I didn't cry during Inside Out 2, even though that's gonna be higher on the list. But Aiello made me sob. That was real good, and it was just it was beautiful just seeing a little boy realize that he has more to offer to the world than to be out in space. He belongs on Earth. Like it's really sweet. It's really sweet. Yeah. So that's Aiello. That's Aiello. I'm sorry. I was just kind of zoning out a little bit and thinking about the movie. I like the movie, and the score is beautiful. Great. Aiello was a 4 out of 5 for me. Number 17. we got Hoppers. Yeah, one of 2026's Pixar films. Hoppers makes it to number 17 on our list in the top 20. This movie is batshit insane. I did not know what to expect going into this movie. I thought it was going to be like some sort of like weird, like almost kind of like Avatar-ish. I mean, like they made the reference in the trailer, but like Avatar-ish, Pocahontas, like story, about understanding the environment and kind of like I don't know. It was going to be like a very Nat Geo kind of movie. Good God, it is the most sci-fi of sci-fi movies I've watched. Animated movies, I mean, I've watched in a minute. I don't even know where to begin. This movie just takes jumps and just keeps going with them. Like it follows through on everything that you want it to. The villain, like I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start with this movie. I almost like can't describe it to you. I don't know if that's too high of praise. I just can't describe how insane it is. It starts off being like a standard kind of Pixar movie with like the emotional dynamics. We see the emotional dynamics of Mabel's character and how she wants to save this glade because that's the glade that her grandma loved and they saw great peace there. But then she puts her mind in a robotic beaver and she starts assimilating into the community as a human beaver consciousness, and then they talk to and then she meets another beaver named beaver named King George, and they they meet the animal council, and then Mabel accidentally kills one of the animal councils. And then war breaks out on the humans. And then there's like a robotic human man voiced by John Hamm. Well, no, he's not voiced by John Hamm. John Hamm voices the human man that the robot was based off of. And he's the mayor. And he wants to destroy the glade to build the highway. And then Dave Franco is evil robot mayor butterfly robot man. And he moves like a crazy octopus man that crawls around on all fours. See, I just... If you haven't seen the movie, I did just spoil a bunch of it. However, go watch it if all of that sounds insane to you. I think it because of how batshit it is, it deserves a spot because I love watching this movie. I showed this to Paige, my sister, very recently, and she had a ball with it because of how crazy it was. But again, at its core, it has a great little emotional center. This is like a fun, emotional, batshit movie. And honestly, that's the kind of movies I want to make. So, Hoppers, you've inspired me greatly. So, awesome. 4 out of 5. Love you. Next up is the last movie we'll get to before we go on a little break here. Inside Out 2 is at number 16. Now, this is a movie that I thought I liked more than the first movie. I don't. I don't like this more than the first movie. I gaslit myself into thinking that. However, Inside Out 2 has one of the best portrayals of anxiety that I have seen. And as someone with anxiety, I feel like I can speak on that, at least how my anxiety works. This gave me a great way to visualize my anxiety because that's sometimes a really big issue with me. I'm kind of, right before the break, we're traumatizing. One of the things with me and the way that I operate is that I just overthink every single little thing that I do. It's gotten, I will say, it's gotten a little bit more intense in my later years. Like I'm not 20 years old, Jesus. But most recently in the last couple of years, it's gotten a little bit more, just more present in my life. But Inside Out 2 gave me a great way to visualize it. And it is exactly the way that I've always felt it. Anxiety itself is not trying to hurt you in a sense. The byproducts of it are hurting you. However, I love that anxiety, voiced by Maya Hawke here, has Riley's best interest in mind, but is literally going about it in the absolute worst way. I think as an antagonist, that's really interesting, and I love that they don't portray anxiety as a straight out villain, because anxiety works with your fear, which I will say is a missed opportunity. I think that fear and anxiety like should have like worked together in a weird way. Like it would have been interesting if like when anxiety like bottles up all the emotions, like fear's like pleads his case and kind of like joins her side. That would have been kind of fun actually, because I think fear and anxiety kind of go hand in hand a little bit. Not a little bit, actually, a lot of it. So I think it's a little interesting that they didn't do that, but I digress. I think the way that anxiety is portrayed here, though, is really cool. I love the sequence with her, with her spiral tone, like literally spiraling. When Riley is having anxiety attack and spiraling, you see this flurry of orange around the console, and she's in there moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I love this scene where Joy's just like, anxiety, you gotta let her go. And she starts crying because she doesn't want to, because she's worried that without her, she's not going to be able to make it. Like, I think it's really emotional to me. I think it's really sweet. And I mean, bad. Like obviously, anxiety doing that is really bad. And this should not happen. But I'm saying the way that it's presented in the movie is really emotional. And it struck a really interesting, nuanced look at anxiety that isn't just anxiety is evil. And it's just here to hurt you. I don't think presenting anything in your mind as it's just here to hurt you is the right way you should present it. I think everything in your mind and every thought that you think, you thought it for some reason, out of fear, out of fear of the uncertainty of life, whatever it may be. You thought it for a reason, and you're doing yourself no favors and telling yourself that something in your mind is trying to hurt you, So I love the way that this was nuanced and presented this completely differently. So I love Inside Out 2. I think the central conflict with Riley is not the most interesting to me. But I do think it's effective in what it's trying to portray, in terms of like, Riley doesn't want her friends to move away and not be apart with them. So she's kind of like straying away, trying to find new friends. Because she's trying to like, kind of fill the void already. But in terms, she, starts to have anxiety and kind of spirals out of control and doesn't know where her loyals lie, or loyalty lies, in terms of her friends and her dynamics with the other classmates, or not classmates, but hockey team. Inside Out 2 is a 4 out of 5 and ranked 16 on our list. All right, y'all, we're gonna have a little bit of a break, but when we're back, we're kicking things off with number 15, which is Toy Story 4. So get excited. Yes. Hello, welcome back. As I said before, we're just going to cut right to the chase, kicking things off with number 15, Toy Story 4. Now, we're in the top 15. Things are going to start getting a little dicey in terms of opinions and excitements and all that, all such, These are the big leagues, all right? I mean, well, I guess top 10 is like the big leagues, and then top 5 is like the big leagues, And then top 3 is like, whoa, is this, the leagues are too big? Then number 1's like, this is in a league of its own. See what I did there? Anyway. Can't let a joke sit, can you, Caden? Anyway. Toy Story 4. As you can probably tell, all 5 Toy Story movies made it into the top 15. And that is because, and I'll just say this right now, I love Toy Story. I love it so much. It is quite literally my favorite animated film franchise of all time, bar none. Okay, like I think the only franchise that gets a little close to that is the Spider-Verse movies, and that just has 2 movies. It just goes to show how good those movies are. But in terms of animated franchise sagas, it's got to be Toy Story, man. It's got to be. These are my dudes. These are my guys and gals and everything in between. They're all my favorite friends. All my favorite friends. But Toy Story 4, this movie came out in 2019, so this was 9 years after Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 3 is also another one of my early memories at the theater. I remember seeing this movie with my buddy Alex in 3D, because 3D was the big thing in 2010, Everything was showing in real 3D. And I was excited to see Toy Story 3. And so we'll talk about that movie when we get to it. But Toy Story 4, all that is to say is that it had been ages since the last Toy Story movie, and I was so excited they were making another one. I was of the camp, and I'm still of the camp, that Toy Story 3 obviously was a fantastic ending. That is a perfect trilogy of films. It sets out exactly what it means to do. Toy Story 4 is not a Toy Story movie. Now, Caden, you ask, you have this in the top 15. You love Toy Story. You're telling me it's not a Toy Story movie? Yes, it isn't a Toy Story movie. My dad and I have had many conversations about this film because my dad is very much a person that was like, 3 is it. That perfect trilogy, boom, that's amazing. So he was very against 4 when it came out. When he watched 4, he did not like it. He pretty much despises that movie, and he pretty much writes it off from the saga. And we had a conversation about this, and he explained it very well to me. And it's actually a part of the movie that I genuinely do agree with. Toy Story 4 does not treat the toys as toys. The conflict is not centered around them being toys. It is centered around Woody trying to find new purpose in his life. Anything can have that arc. A fish can have that arc. A car can have that arc. A toy is going to have this arc. Sure. And while the story presented is a story that I love very dearly, and I think the arc that Woody goes on in this film is justified, is completely justified for where he's at in his life. He really misses the times of old, and he feels like this new life that he's in is just not fulfilling enough for him, and that's fine. That's okay. That's great. But truly, that is an arc that anyone can have. It's just contextualized in a toy light, in a toy's perspective. So this soul-searching journey that Woody goes on, while it is extremely dynamic to me and extremely poignant in terms of seeing this character that has, lived on for, by the time this movie came out, it was about, 24 years of Toy Story. And so seeing this character kind of age with time and kind of like reflect on himself and just go, maybe there's something better I could be doing. And while it would hurt to leave the people that I love most, they'd understand. And honestly, with the context of Toy Story 5, knowing that they can just call him whenever they want, I think it's completely fine. I love this is a movie literally about him realizing that he loves helping people, loves helping toys. No toy gets left behind. And now that motto goes for every single toy that goes out there. Now he's a lost toy. He's helping other toys get kids. I love that. I love that for his character. I think his relationship with Bo is wonderful. Okay. I know a lot of people like to rag on Bo just because they're like, she took Woody away from the gang. She took Woody away from his friend. And I just do not agree with those people. I don't. Bo is in love with Woody, and Woody has been in love with Bo literally since the first 2 movies. And sure, maybe that relationship in those first 2 movies wasn't in depth, but also that wasn't the point of the story. But it has been portrayed that Bo and Woody have been a thing, and her leaving in Toy Story 3 was really impacting for him. They make sure to linger on that one because that one meant a lot to him. And seeing that opening sequence, also, I need to mention, Toy Story 4 is a beautiful movie, like animation wise. It is. I still think it is the most beautifully animated film Pixar has ever done. It's stunning. The rain Oh my gosh, that opening sequence, so cool. It looks so good. Like that shot underneath the car with both of them, and it mirrors the end of the movie whenever he decides to go, and then like it, oh, it's so good. I love Toy Story 4, but with all of that said, I do understand it is the least Toy Story of the Toy Story movies, and I completely understand that as such. So therefore, it is my least favorite Toy Story movie, but it's still number 15 in my all-time Pixar ranking. Come on. Toy Story is still the top dog of Pixar franchises. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So, Toy Story 4 is a 4 out of 5 for me. Going up to number 14, we got Monsters University. We're going to college, my friends. We're going to college. Yeah. I love Monsters University. I almost thought about moving this up just a little bit more, but I think just the overall shenanigans and adventure is just not enough to surpass some of the higher movies on this list. But I adore this movie. Seeing a young Mike Wazowski that is so eager to get into the scaring business, and a Sully that genuinely could care less about it. He thinks he's a shoo-in for it, and he doesn't think he needs to earn it. That dynamic, I mean, it's a tale as old as time, The Odd Couple, obviously, but what I love most about this movie, and I've talked about this at length with my buddy Eli, who also adores Monsters University, is that it showcases a main character in Mike Wazowski that wants to be something so bad, and is told time and time again that he can't be that thing because he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that thing that you need to do this thing. He's told time and time again, he's not scary. And the message of this movie isn't surpassing that notion. It is kind of acknowledging, not kind of, it is acknowledging that there are limits to what you can do as a human being, or monster in this case. There are limits to what you can do in this life. And those limits will never go away. They won't. And sometimes you have to find your own avenue to go down. You have to find a new sense of purpose in that. It is so cool. It is so cool to see that kind of the character arc be portrayed in a animated film for kids. For the movie to literally tell you, hey, you can follow your dreams, but sometimes you might not be able to reach them. But maybe you can find a new dream within that dream. And that's extremely realistic. Like, Mike isn't able to become a scarer, but you know what he is able to become? A coach. And he becomes that for Sully. And Sully would not be where he is without Mike. They need each other. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Yeah. I love a lot of the characters in this. I think the Uzma Kappa fraternity is really funny. None of the characters really stick with me, to be honest with you, but I mean, they're really funny. I mean, I love Art. Art is really funny. I can't go back to jail. That's really good. And just the score for this movie is really good. I forgot who did it. But Monsters University score is really nice. I really like this one. It's just a feel-good movie. It is a quintessential Pixar movie for me. And so that's why it's this high up on the list. So number 14, Monsters University, 4 out of 5 for me. Number 13 might be a bit of a controversial ranking as well. Maybe not as much as some others on this list, but Up is number 13. Yes. The first 10, honestly, the first 20 minutes of this movie are perfect. They're so good. They're so good. And I'm not even going to go on this whole notion that I've gone before with talking about these movies about how like the middle chunk of the movie just doesn't do it for me, because I do love the adventure in this. I do love the adventure. I think this is just, we're getting to a situation where the movies just keep getting better. And so some of these movies have to just do a little bit more than the last one to really stay above on this list. But Up is just an all-around great adventure movie with a unlikely duo in a old man and a young eager explorer kid in Russell. I keep on thinking about every time I watch this movie, I keep thinking about what was it like to pitch this movie. Pete Docter in the pitch room had to be like, okay, so it is a old man and a young boy who go on a South American adventure to save a little bird and kind of meet a talking dog along the way. Oh, and also they get there by attaching balloons to the old man's house and flying away. Awesome. Awesome. Like that's like a crazy creative pitch. That's insane. Um and I love Charles Muntz as a villain. I do think like he's a little kind of like one note, and I'll be so honest, I don't think the movie needs Charles Muntz. I'll be so I on this latest rewatch, I do think he feels a little out of place in the movie, just a tiny bit. But I love his presence, and I still think it's kind of just like, I love when unlikely characters get in abnormal and intense situations. Like I love that this movie has a big bombastic Indiana Jones third act. I really do like that. I love whenever they're fighting and both of the old men, which Charles Muntz is probably like 150. Like, I mean, he has to be. And they both like, go to swing their respective weapons, and they crack their backs, and they have to kick them back into place. It's great. We need more old man combat in movies. We really need that. Yeah, I love that the house is treated as Ellie. Like he refers to the house as Ellie as if she is there, because her spirit is all within the house. Every time he goes in there, all he can see is Ellie. And it's just the sweetest thing in the world. Like realizing that he has to let go of his emotional baggage literally by shoving all of the furniture out of the house to go and save Russell, who he now seeks a new kind of lease on life with as his, father figure, grandpa character, is just beautiful. It's beautiful. There's so much about Up I could talk about. I mean, I have, but there's so much more I could talk about. But yeah, I think it is just a wonderfully emotional movie. Yeah. Score's great too. Michael Giacchino going at it again with this Married Life. God damn it, making us cry. Whew. Real good. Real good. Okay, Up is a 4 out of 5 for me. Wait, is it a 4 out of 5? Oh, I gotta check. Hold on. We're doing this live. We're doing it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. I think it's a 4 out of 5. I might have moved it up to 4.5. Let's see. I'm going off of my letterbox here. Is a 4 out of 5 for me. Yes, I stand by that. Now this next one is a 4.5 out of 5. I think that's how I got mixed up. Number 12 is The First Inside Out. Now I saw this movie on a Disney cruise, so we saw for free, a part of our our package for the cruise. Which Disney cruises are really cool. Like the fact that it's been 11 years since I went on that cruise and I still have vivid memories of it. They're pretty worth it. They're worth the joy that you will experience on them. But you saw it on the boat, and it immediately was. I knew it was one of my top Pixar movies, just because it contextualizes the inside of our heads in such a wonderfully fantastical way that I really love to envision my mind as such. Like I love when Pixar makes movies that you can't see things the same without them anymore. Like every time I look at a clownfish, I go Finding Nemo. Every time I think about my toys, I'm like, what are they doing whenever I'm not around? Like every time I see a rat, I go, can he cook? Maybe not that last one, but you know what I mean. A lot of Pixar movies have these very iconic and just very well visualized concepts, and Inside Out is just one of those concepts. I have fought a couple people on this movie because a buddy of mine thinks the movie invites a lot more conversation than I think should be had, where it's obviously Joy has this whole character arc, and because they need a character arc, they have to have other emotions other than joy. They are all these emotions, while they are representing one emotion, they all have kind of all of them within them, and it's like, do they have emotions? Blah, blah, blah. I don't think we're supposed to ask those questions, though. I think that's looking too far into it, and I think that is besides the point of the film. The point of the film is about how we must feel to progress as human beings. We cannot close ourselves off to the world. We can't lose our sadness and we can't lose our joy, because if we lose either one of them, what do we have left? I do love that there is an importance put on joy and sadness specifically in this movie. Not that the other emotions don't have their place, but like whenever they're running the ship, you know, Riley becomes an emotionless husk. Like she becomes rampant in just in negative emotion. And you need sadness to realize the joy of moments, and joy to realize some of the sadness of moments. When you miss something, that's you being inherently sad about something, but there's the joy in there that you had the memory at all. Like it's really beautiful. I cry every single time that Riley comes home at the end of that movie and her parents are hugging her after she tries to run away. Like it gets like really intense for a movie like with a 12-year-old character. I think she's 11 or 12. Yeah. Yeah, she's 12. Yeah, I think it is just a really, really special movie, and it was very much a lightning in the bottle from Pete Docter. Yeah, I really adore this world and these characters. Bing Bong. I mean, Richard Kind. Come on, you can't go wrong with him. You can't go wrong with the old Richard Kind. Come on. But that is 4.5 out of 5 for me on number 12. And then we move up to number 11, which is the most recent film on this list. Just barely missing the top 10 is Toy Story 5. I did not see this coming when I first saw this movie. Okay. I need you to know I have seen it 4 times, and it has taken me 4 times to finally solidify how I feel about this film. And I just think it's really, 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 really fantastic. I think it's a really great return to form for the Toy Story formula. It is very much a Toy Story 2 style story, in the sense that it's not like Life or Death. It's not Toy Story 3, which is like crazy dark. Like, Toy Story 3 gets crazy dark. No, Toy Story 5 is exactly the amount has the exact amount of emotion it needs, while not underselling anything that came before, or underselling the movie that it's in. Jesse's the lead of this movie, which is the most brilliant decision I think that they could have done. I do think that Woody and Buzz as characters are kind of like they've reached their end. And honestly, with 5, Buzz has kind of like reached his end too. He kind of got his little, his relationship with Jesse arc wrapped up. Like that kind of got a pin in it. Boom. Like, we're done. Honestly, this could be the final Toy Story movie, and I'd be completely fine. Truly would be perfect with that. It ends on such a wonderfully just happy note of just like they're gonna keep on getting played with for the rest of time. And again, going back to Woody, like they have I don't know how and when they set this up, but I don't care. They set up some sort of communication system with him with some walkie-talkies so they can call him whenever they need him. So if they need him for another adventure later in the future, they're just gonna call him and be like, "Hey, Woody, get your ass over here." It's like, okay, awesome, let's do this. Let's do another shenanigan. I love Lily Pad. I love the way that they treat tech in this movie, because I was worried going in that it was going to be black and white. I was worried it was going to be like, tech is bad, toy playing with physical toy good, but that's just an unrealistic notion for this modern day world we live in. Kids are going to grow up with tech. I've grown up with tech. It is an integral part of life, but it is all about how you use that tech in the context of your everyday life. It cannot consume you. And they show both sides of this. The beginning, they show how tech can be consuming to a child and how they're constantly on it. It's consuming their everyday, the taps, But by the end of the movie, they showcase the ways that tech can be great, and it's good for connecting people. Lilypad and Jesse both help Bonnie get a new friend in the end, which is the goal of the whole movie. And if it wasn't for Lilypad, they wouldn't have gotten connected like that, So the tech is presented in a way that's able to help, and it is not to replace the toy experience, but to add to it. I love Smarty Pants. Conan O'Brien is very funny in this movie. And
I was worried that he was gonna like phone it in for whatever reason, but like, why would I ever expect that of Conan? Like, if he's asked to do something, like he commits so hard into it that it's very admirable. So he's got some great lines. His character's great. Randy's back. Randy Newman's back for the score. I didn't think he'd be back for the score. That man's like he's ancient now. But no, he creates one of my favorite Toy Story scores. I think Toy Story 5 might be like my second favorite Toy Story score, right behind 3. Crazy. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, Toy Story 5 is absolutely wonderful and deserving of being a Toy Story movie. Clocking in at number 11. That is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Or 5 out of 5 in my dad's case. He said perfect film at the end. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was so nervous he wasn't going to like it because he didn't like Toy Story 4. But we're back. We're winning. All right. Whew, I'm stretching a little bit. Because we are entering the big leagues. We are in the top 10, my friends. And coming in at number 10, Coco. Coco's number 10. I love Coco. It is the only movie that me and my dad have both cried at, like in the theater, like right next to each other. Like, I mean, we've cried at other movies like at home, like watching like old movies or like some movies that he wants to show me or whatever. But like that is like the first new movie that we both were seeing for the very first time that we both cried at the same time, and I will remember that for the rest of my days. But the movie itself is just wonderfully heartfelt, and it's filled with so much great music. Like this is kind of technically Pixar's first musical. It's got a good number of numbers in it, and it just centers itself around a false villainous idol and a family that resents music for what it did to them in the past and for who it represents to them. About setting old grievances aside and, you know, pursuing a new family legacy. It's like, it's really good. It's, Hector is one of my favorite Disney Pixar characters ever. He's so funny and he's such a tragic character. He died without no one in his family knowing that he died to poison. They thought he ran off and, you know, got popular and off on his own. But no, Ernesto de la Cruz stole his music, man. That rat bastard. Like, I love Ernesto in this movie. I think Benjamin Bratt delivers a really fun, you know, grandiose performance, but also really cowardly. Like, I love when he gets like all cowardly and like, just runs away. Like, it's really funny. I love the La Llorona sequence on the stage in the third act. That one's great. Miguel is a wonderful, wonderful little ball of light. And it's like really like scary, kind of like it's got that grim. I mean, you're dealing with death here, so it's got to be grim. That scene with Hector's friend in like the, you know, the kind of like shamble hobo houses of the land of the dead, and just like he's just playing that song for him. And then he watches him fly away. It's like, oh my God, there's a death for the dead? That's crazy. And it all has to do with if they remember you. Whoa, that's very loaded and heavy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think all of the concepts here are just very, very wonderful and they're executed perfectly. This is just a movie that is defiant on perfect execution. It's really, really, really well done. Love me some Coco. So that's going to be a 4.5 for me. Now coming in at number 9, we have what I would call one of the most perfect comedies ever written, and that is the very first Toy Story. This movie consistently has me on the ground, goofing and gaffing. You know, I love this movie so much. I can't even put it into words. Obviously I've grown up with this movie. Like this is on constantly in the house. This and Toy Story 2 were on constantly when I was growing up. It doesn't know when to quit. Every single concept, every single line is so funny and well delivered. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen were perfectly cast for these two characters. I can never see any single person doing one of these voices ever again. That's why I'm like, when they die, they really stop making them. I don't think they will, but I mean, they might. if they ever recast Woody or Woody or Buzz or Jesse for that matter, I'm gonna be like, what are we doing, y'all? We're done. We're like actually done now, because these guys got in those booths and made absolute magic with this script, which is one of the greatest scripts I think ever written. It's tight. It is quick. It is, we are in and out in less than 90 minutes. And it hits every single bar that it needs to hit for it to be one of the greatest comedies ever written. Again, people talk about the animation being like, oh, it's dated. Oh man, I can't knock a movie for that. I'm sorry. I can't knock a movie for having dated animation just because it looks older. I think it adds to the charm of the way these characters move and are animated. It leads to these characters having expressions that they'll never have later on in the franchise. Like there are unique ways that these characters look that are tied to this movie, and I think that is integral to the identity of this movie. And it lets the first movie stand apart from all the rest of them. Because like Toy Story has its own identity, Toy Story 2 kind of has its own identity visually, and then 3, 4, and 5. Actually, 3 does as well. I'm kind of realizing that all 5 of these movies look very differently from each other in small ways, but ways that you'll notice if you're constantly watching them, which I am. But yeah, I think that's honestly kind of a really interesting fact of that. But anyway, Toy Story 1. I don't have much else to say other than that it's just a perfect comedy. It is a funny, funny movie, and it has just so much wonderful creativity and heart to it. There's a reason why it spawned 5 movies, okay? There's a reason why this happened. Also, Randy Newman, strange things are happening to me. I will go sailing no more. Oh, I got to talk about that real quick. One of my favorite shots in the entire franchise is when Buzz is standing up at the top of that railing, and he sees the light shining through the window, and he goes, I'm going to try to fly. I'm going to try to do it. And he goes and he falls down. And Randy Newman's song to that, I Will Go Sailing No More, is the saddest shit in the world. I love it so much. And that shot of him opening his wings with the window in front of him, and that like we're getting we're getting shot from the back of Buzz, and then we just see him standing there on the railing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Toy Story is great. All right. You didn't need me to tell you that. So that is a 5-star movie for me. Yes, number 9 through 1 are all 5-star movies. Here we go. We're locking in, y'all. Get ready. Get ready for this, okay? Number 8. We got Pete Docter's first directorial debut. His directorial debut is what I meant. And that is Monsters, Inc. One of the most creative movies ever written. Okay? The concept of monsters having jobs, and their job is to go and scare people because they need screen power from us to power their cities. That is $1 million elevator pitch. And I mean, and it shows. It's getting a theme park land now. It's got a prequel, sequel, whatever. I think they're making a 3rd one now, which I have feelings about, but we'll see what happens. But Monsters Inc. is wonderful. I love it's the odd couple and their baby, and they got to save their baby and bring her back to the human world because they gotta do what's right. Like what I love most about the monsters is that they're not. I mean, like the society itself is not like against humans. It's just like we're using you to kind of get our power, and that's just what we got to do. It's just how the cookie crumbles. So I love that it's not black and white. It's not black and white like that. It's just like we just need you to power our city. But then comes in Water Noose and is like, I'm going to kidnap 1,000 children. I kidnap 1,000 children before I'd let this company die. What? What did you just say? You're crazy. And I love the idea that there are monsters to the monsters. Like Sully's looking at water news and is scared. I think that's really funny and very interesting to me. Is like the monsters themselves can be scared of each other. But I mean, like there's evil monsters, there's good people, there's bad people. I just love this movie. I'm gonna be so real with all of you right now. These next few movies, I'm just gonna be like just spouting out word vomit of how much I love them. That you're not really gonna get a concise like thought from me, because Monsters Inc. is just fantastic. It's good. It's real good. It's a real good movie. I love Mike and Sully, Billy Crystal, John Goodman. Oh man, look at him go. Look at him go. Monsters Inc. is a 5 out of 5 for me. Number 7. Oh, we got Toy Story 2. That didn't take very long to get back to Toy Story. Yeah, we're back in it. Toy Story 2, a great conversation of legacy, about I have this chance to go and live on forever for millions of people, enclosed or to be played with. And the conversation of you are a toy being switched back on the Woody now, instead of Woody telling Buzz in the first movie, Buzz using that against Woody and being like, hey, this is what you taught me. I need you to live up to that. I think that's really, really great. That's a great dynamic for Buzz to really regain and retain that lesson that he learned in that first movie, that he is a toy and his job is to be played with. And that is what a toy's job should be. And Woody is conflicted because he wants to help these people, because he realized that his life is a lot bigger than his name is a lot bigger than he once thought it was. He wants to help these people, and he wants to help Jesse and the Prospector and Bullseye, and he wants to help him out. And he knows that if he goes to this museum that he would. But in the end, he's Andy's toy. He can't go. He's got to be there for Andy. And even though time's running out, at least Buzz Lightyear there is going to be there to keep him company. He's always going to have his friends. And that's what matters the most. While Toy Story 1 really hammered in the sense of Andy needs these toys and the toys need each other, Toy Story 2 really hammers in that Woody's loyalty lies with his friends. And I know how much people that don't like Toy Story 4 will go back to Toy Story 2 and be like, well, look what he did. Look what he did. But Toy Story 4 is another conversation, okay? In this movie, Woody realizes that his loyalty lies where his friends are going. And while Andy will not be in his life for forever, he knows that where his friends are going is where he wants to follow. So that's what he decides to do. And the Prospector, I love the Prospector. I think he's a really funny villain. I do love that his resentment towards being a toy really, really kind of came around from the Sputnik of it all. And like when Space Toys came out, no one wanted to play with cowboy toys anymore. I think that's very, very funny. I like that it was a real world event that caused that. Like that they tied it into like that. That was really smart. And then Jessie, what a great character. What a fantastic character. I love that she has claustrophobia from being locked in a box. Like that's a thing about a toy that I never even thought about. Like, how do they feel about that, being locked in a box sometimes and put in the attic, or like put in the back of a car? You get that in Jessie. That's a great toy dynamic that is explored with Jessie's character. Fantastic. That is just a great little piece of writing. And her backstory, I cry every time, man. And it does not get easier. And the way that is then tied into Toy Story 5 later on, it's just great. Really, really good. Really good. See, you're just going to get a lot of really goods, really greats, fantastics, count them off as we're saying them, But Toy Story 2 is a 5 out of 5 for me. All right. It took us how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It took us 23 movies to get back to this franchise. But we are finally back at number 6 with The Incredibles. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Awesome. Awesome score, by the way. Michael Giacchino, you are still a gem. I've said your name like 3 times in this podcast. You're still a gem. I love you very much. I hope you're doing well. The Incredibles. One of the most perfect, I said this earlier, one of the most perfect superhero films of all time. It is basically the Fantastic Four movie that we still kind of have not gotten. I love First Steps, but that still is not what I would love from a Fantastic Four movie. It's the closest to live action Fantastic Four that we've ever gotten. And I will say it's very good. It's very good. It is the best representation of those characters in live action. But as a whole other topic, I digress. Incredibles is still the best Fantastic Four movie, I think. It is so adult. And what I love about that is that, like, it's not like adult as in it's an edgy, it's trying to be edgy. It's trying to have all these concepts and be edgy because, like, you know, oh, Helen thinks her husband's having an affair. It's like, and we're doing this just because it's edgy. No, because it's a realistic thing that this character would think. As a wife, as a mother who has realized that her husband's getting more distant and being more kind of like getting consumed with his new job and like he's getting more excited to get out there, like she has every right to assume that there's some new spark or flame in his life that is kind of keeping that, keeping him alive. And I think it's just like, these are real characters that are coming to real natural conclusions. And they also happen to be superheroes, you know? The whole lore of the supers getting, like the whole opening sequence with the supers getting, illegalized. Is that a word? Illegalized? I'm going to say it anyway. Or being made illegal is crazy. Like the fact that Mr. Incredible got sued because a man wanted to kill himself and then Mr. Incredible stopped him from killing himself. That's crazy. This movie was, kids went to go see this and like, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's awesome that Brad Bird was just like, Disney, you gonna let me do this? And Disney was like, sure, man, go ahead. Made the Iron Giant. You're awesome. But yeah, I love Syndrome. Jason Isaacs is Jason Isaacs. That's not his name. That's not his name. Jason Lee. I was about to say Jason Isaacs is he's Draco Malfoy, not Draco Malfoy. Oh God, what's his name? The Lucius Malfoy. He's Lucius Malfoy, among other things. But Jason Lee does an inspired performance for Syndrome. What a fantastic villain that is. I mean, the concept of him trying to be a fake superhero so that he can then make superheroes obsolete is really interesting. And is just like he's become so devilish. He he kills people. He kills so many superheroes. It's crazy. Like he's a madman. One of the craziest villains I've ever seen. Gosh, and just he's so like dorky and like in a crazed fanboy way, which is one of the most interesting kind of character tropes and dynamics I've seen in one of these Pixar movies. So yeah, I could sing the praises of this movie tenfold, man. It is just nonstop amazing. I also love when a third act thinks it's over and then it isn't over. Like I love when you have the big battle with the Omnidroid at the very end, but then, oh no, Syndrome has the baby. And so we have to have a little sequence of then getting the baby back, and then Syndrome fucking dies. Like he gets sucked into a jet propeller because of the capes talk that we had earlier in the movie with Edna. It's amazing. Everything just comes back around. Script is amazing. Just very real, very earnest and honest with itself. It's just, dare I say, that movie's incredible. Anyway. Incredibles is 5 out of 5. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. Home stretch, guys. Top 5. It's time. Let's dive in. Number 5 is the biggest surprise I have had in a very long time. Mind you, when this movie came out, I think I had it like a 3.5 out of 5 when it first came out. It didn't resonate with me. There we go. Resonate with me that much when I first watched it. Then I watched it on call with my buddies Austin and Eli. And Eli, both of them love the movie so much. And I was like, okay, let's give it another shot. Let's see what we got here. From minute one, I kept on saying, "Whoa, this is a really good movie." Like, like the score would start by Dan Romer, he's a very underrated composer, by the way. And I was like, "Oh, whoa, okay, that's got like some heart to it." Yeah. This is a pretty good movie. It keeps going. I'm loving the dynamics of the characters. They're animated in such a genuine way that I had not seen characters move in an anime movie before. And I was like, oh wait, hold on. Oh, this movie's pretty good. And then by the end, I just kept on saying it, and then I was sobbing by the end. This movie is Luca. I realized I hadn't seen the name yet. Number 5 is Luca. This is one of the most special movies that Pixar's ever made. It is just a whimsical hope epitomized into a movie. It is about two boys, just trying to make their mark on the world. And they have this lovely, beautiful friendship that is most definitely, indubitably gay. This is a gay movie. And that is, this is, this is not like queer baiting. This is not any of that. This is entirely a gay story, as it should be, as it absolutely should be. It is one of the most beautiful films I have watched in most recent memory, and it felt this strongly about. I want to like watch it again right now. I'm like talking about it, I'm like kind of like welling up a little bit. I can't put into words how much this movie means. And the only reason why there's 4 more movies above this is because I have nostalgia for them. And I do think that their thematic themes are better, and like the the events of the film are a little bit better, and just all that. Like, this is a very quaint movie, and it's entirely on purpose that it is that. It is so. I genuinely cannot put it into words how special Luca is. So I'm going to inquire that you listening to this, if you made it this far, thank you very much. I love you very much. Thank you for being here. Please go watch Luca. Give it another try. If it didn't resonate with you the first time you watched it, or if you have never watched it, please go watch it, because it is genuinely one of the most heartfelt experiences I've had in a minute. And I might watch this movie tonight after I'm done recording because I just am having such great time reminiscing on it. Julia, like the dynamic of Alberto, Julia, and Luca are just like, it's just this tight-knit group that I just love so much. And I see so much of my friends in these characters. I see myself in a lot of these characters too. Like, it's one of the most relatable movies. And like, even though I am not a person of LGBTQ, or I'm not queer, I have an immense number of friends that are queer and have just opened my eyes to how the world can be and how the world should be. It's just, if you have any queer people in your life, please keep them in it, because I love my friends so much. Sorry, I'm sorry now. See, Luca's just so much about friendship that I'm just thinking about my friends and getting emotional. I love my friends so much. Anyway, Luca's wonderful. Please go watch it. It is a 5 out of 5. Thank you. Number 4 is Ratatouille. Ratatouille is another one of those movies that you just look at it and go, this shouldn't work. It's one of those concepts that's just like a rat controlling a man with his hair to puppet him into becoming a great chef, and to let his creativity through cooking showcased through the man's hands as he's puppeting them. It's kind of like the Hoppers effect, honestly. This is kind of how I feel about Ratatouille, just in a certain way, in one of these ways. He's being followed around by the ghost. His figment of imagination is the ghost of the chef that he admired, who died at the beginning of the film. And he's trying to live through Gusteau's legacy, trying to be a great chef, but he's a rat. Rats don't cook. Rats can't cook. No, they can. They can. They're really good at it. And that's what this movie's saying. So let your rat in your kitchen today. No. Through Remy, we're able to just see this wonderful story of somebody trying to achieve the unachievable. And ultimately finding that the unachievable was always there. And you could always achieve it. If you set your mind to something, you can do it. And basically, this entire movie is just Remy finding a way to make this thing happen. With every single thing getting in his way, he is trying to make this thing happen. He and Linguini's dynamic is so sweet. And I love that first scene with them testing out how the puppeting works. And so like he's like making a mess of the place. And like he's blindfolded. It's just great. It is a perfect sequence of concepts and executions of those concepts. I love that. I gotta talk about this one because this just came to mind. There are a lot of great scenes in this movie, but I think my favorite scene and my favorite line of this movie is whenever Django, which is Remy's dad, if you didn't know, when Django shows Remy what happens to rats whenever they found the kitchen, and he takes him to a rat killing shop, and he sees all of the rats racked up, dead rats on screen, boom, right there in the window of this shop. And I just love that Remy says, sorry, Django asks Remy, I apologize. Django asks Remy, wait, where are you going? Because Remy's like, no, I still want to do this. And Django's like, where are you going? And Remy says, with luck, forward. And that's like my motto now for everything. With luck, forward. Everything that we go, everything we do, we should always go with the best luck in our hearts, with the best case in mind, because you don't know what can happen. But if you go with the best intentions and you go with hoping that it will work out, it most likely maybe will, and you don't know that for sure, but it's good to have that in your heart. I just love that line. I love that exchange. I love that whenever Remy's staring death in the face, he knows where this path can lead to. He knows the risks, and yet he still says, with luck, I'm going to go forward. Any lesser movie would basically have that moment be kind of like turmoil in Remy's head. And maybe it is, but we don't see it. We don't see it because the script is very smart and it knows everything that this character has seen and is acknowledged. It's living with him. And so again, everything he goes with, it's with luck forward. I just love that line. I love that line. I love that scene. And, Chef Skinner is a great villain. He's a kind of a cartoonish, conniving villain, but he's really great. He serves the purpose that he must have. I think Anton Ego is a fantastic little third act, little set piece, because he's a set piece in and of himself. That's what Anton Ego is. He's a whole set piece because they're trying to make a dish that will surprise him, and he's looking for a little perspective, and it's just all set up so nicely. The whole third act with all the chefs working out because it's so realistic. When Linguini reveals that he's been controlling by a rat the whole time, and even when he shows them how it works, they still all leave because it's the craziest thing they've ever seen in their lives, and they're not going to risk their careers on this. It's very realistic, and then all the rats get involved, and then they all help cook. It's just yay movies. This is just a fantastic, perfect movie to me. brilliant idea, well executed. Not everyone can cook, but a good cook can come from anywhere. Wonderful. Wonderful sentiment. No notes. 5 out of 5. Number 3. Now, this movie, I think, is the one that hit me the hardest this time around. Number 3 is Finding Nemo. A little story time. I watched this movie in like 2023. I reviewed the movie. I had probably about the same experience that I had watching this movie this latest time. And in my review, I just said, I love my dad. That review on Letterboxd went Letterboxd viral. It had sitting at like 563 likes with like, which like on Letterboxd is like crazy. Like people don't like reviews on Letterboxd. It's very rare. And so like that one like crazy for me. It was very funny. It also got like reposted on like a Instagram board of like memes and stuff. Well, like, or not memes, maybe it was just like Instagram posts and like, I don't know, tweet reposts, whatever. Besides the point. This movie is very, very emotional to me because I love my father very much. He's a very dear person in my life, and he's probably my best friend. This movie on this latest rewatch like had me in absolute tears by the end. Just seeing this story of this father going across the ocean because he would rather die trying to go save his son than not try at all is amazing. It's just, this is the Odyssey. This is the Odyssey. This is the Odyssey I ought to see. Oh, man, Caden, that was a bad one. That was a real bad one. Anyway, we have fun here. Finding Nemo is just a perfect little film that is just totally built on this dynamic between this father and the son that you believe entirely from minute one. You literally see this guy lose his wife and every other potential child he could have had. And so he's going to cherish this one that he has. Oh, man. That is so sweet. And just seeing him learn to trust the people around him more because he's living in a world that has completely turned his back on him. The world took everything away from him except for his one kid. And so he is jaded to no end. And like what I love is that like they don't sugarcoat that. Like he is like he is angry at the world. And like he doesn't say that outright. It's in every action and every reaction that he has to everything that happens. He is angry at the world that is that is happening to him. And like it even at the very end of the movie, not the very end, but the third act, whenever they got Nigel and Nigel's delivering Marlon and Dory to the dentist's office, and Marlon's like, Marlon sees Nemo in the bag, and he's like flipped over, and or I don't think he sees that yet, but basically he's like, "Oh, we got this far. You're going in," and he grabs Nigel's tongue and he leads him in, and they're flying around the dentist's office. It's like this is a man that was scared of every single adventure that he possibly could probably go on. And now he's going on the biggest adventure of his life because of who he's going on it for. And then that third act, that actual last set piece, whenever it's the fishing boat, Nemo going, "Hey, I need to go in there. I need to tell everyone to swim down, and I need you to do so too." And him just accepting that the only way out of this is for him to trust his son, because he knows that whatever he decides to do, he will. He believes him. He believes him. It's just, I just love it, man. I was sobbing like gross tears by the end of this movie, this latest rewatch. It hit this time. Wow. Did Andrew Stanton direct this one? I think he did. That tracks. But yeah. And just all the little vignettes that we get, the jellyfish, saving Dory. I mean, Marlon and Dory are like one of the best Pixar duos ever. And again, how Dory helps Marlin realize that he needs to trust the world more. Dory kind of being the representation of the world, you know, like uh, he needs to just trust her, and he does whenever they're with the whale, and then that helps him trust Nemo. It's just very well done. I could watch this movie a billion times. Very rewatchable to me. All right. Finding Nemo is a 5 out of 5. Number 2, here we go, guys, is Toy Story 3. All right, let's talk about this one for a second. Let's talk about this Toy Story 3 for a second, because how did this movie get made? How is Disney allowing them to take these characters into the darkest pits of hell this franchise has ever seen? Like, what? What are we talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean they're going to get trapped in a daycare prison? And like, it's like dark. It's like the warden is this deeply disturbed man that's lost too much, or has felt like he lost too much and felt like he's been replaced, and it's consumed him. And the greed of children's love has consumed him. He is a manipulator. He makes them think that he killed Woody, when he didn't kill Woody. That bastard couldn't kill Woody. No one can kill Woody. He's Woody, the sheriff. God damn it! And then the movie takes us to the dump for the most terrifying 20-minute to like 15 minutes ever. The music is pounding. It's clanking together. Randy Newman is in there clanking iron to steel. Like like, we're not talking about little bugs anymore, you know? Like, it's crazy. How did this movie get made? How did this happen? It is one of the most cinematic and intense animated movies I've seen. It's dealing with so many themes of being forgotten, of being lost, of being left behind, of Andy growing up. I haven't touched Andy. Andy is like the central focus of this movie, because he's like the most character that he's ever been in this franchise at this point. And seeing him grow up and seeing that a place where he's going to college and he has to consider, like, oh, am I giving away these toys? Am I putting them up in the attic? What are we doing? And seeing all the toys just feel like that they don't want it, that he doesn't want them anymore. And then seeing that he does want them and does care about them. And then he cares about them enough to give them the Bonnie. It's like, that ending sequence is beautiful. But before we get to that ending sequence, they're staring down the pits of hell. They're looking at fire. And they just turn to accept their fate. They're looking at each other and they just turn to accept their fate. What? That shot of Buzz reaching out his hand towards the screen, as if to say, you're with us too, my friends. I can't even imagine like growing up watching all these characters in theaters and then watching this happen in the third movie. Like, what the hell? That's insane. Toy Story 3 is just such a bombastic and brave film to me that it has to be this high. It means too much to me. It showcases my best animated friends in their most intense adventure yet. It's just, it's got to be number 2. It is a 5 out of 5 for me. I love it. Chuckles, the backstory with Chuckles, the music, Randy's score. Oh, Randy's score. This is my favorite Toy Story score. Yeah. Man, I've realized that the last like 8 movies has just been me just saying, oh, this and this, and oh my gosh, and this and this. But it's true. And that isn't going to get any less true than with number 1. If you've been keeping track, and if you were able to suss out at the beginning of this movie what my first movie in theaters could be, it was this movie. This is not just my favorite Pixar movie. This is my favorite movie of all time. I am, of course, talking about, at number 1, Andrew Stanton's masterpiece, WALL-E. I don't even know where I could possibly start talking about this movie. Let's first start talking about the concept. A little trash robot, the last one of his kind, roaming around, trying to do what he's trying to do and clean up the earth to the best visibility, was left behind on Earth while all these humans in outer space left the planet to rot, be consumed by, carbon emissions and dirt and dust and gross and just trash. And they polluted the earth, they killed it, and they ran away. And now Wally is here cleaning up and picking up the pieces, but also learning to love a lot about what the culture was before all this. The idea of a little trash robot having a little house and having a bunch of little trinkets that are remnants of what we left behind, and him learning to love and appreciate the little things. Dancing, a Rubik's Cube, a spork. You don't know which way to put it in. You put it in the spork pile, spoon pile, the fork pile. You don't know. All these little things. And then one day, he's just living about with his little cockroach friend. A friend arrives. And she's the most beautiful robot you've ever seen. And it completely changes everything you want to do with your life. I've read the opening of I've read the character of Wally as many things. And I've always seen that he is a very content character when we first meet him. He's not striving to be anything. He's not trying to do anything differently with his life. He's just doing what he's programmed to do and just having a little bit more fun doing it because he's got, the whole world is his oyster, quite literally, because he's got no one else to talk to. And then his entire world changes when he sees Eve. It is just a love story. And I love that. The whole time, he's just trying to hold hands with her and just have a moment where he can verbalize in his own wacky Wally way of how much she means to him. And him taking care of her when she finds the director and she finds life on Earth and trying to send it back to the Axiom. Just that whole scene, that montage is beautiful. The needle drops in this movie are very, very well done. I think they're one of the best soundtracks, I think, of all the Pixar movies for sure. And the score by Thomas Newman is inspired. Define Dancing. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? This movie, even as I was, 2.5 years old when I first saw this movie, it is stuck with me that whole time. The fact that I was able to understand this character without words for the first 35 minutes of the movie, and then there's dialogue and humans that talk and stuff then, but the fact that I was able to understand the movie 35 minutes in visually just goes to show that the argument that kids have gotten lower attention spans, and that being the excuse as to why we're not making stories for them on par with stuff like Wall-E, is completely and factually incorrect. We can make these stories for them. We just have to have the patience to make them. We want quick returns. We live in a world where the first thing we see is a 2-second swipe, We're constantly going. Wall-E takes its time. It proves that kids can understand a completely visual story. And that's what film is. And that's what film should be. Wall-E it centralizes everything I love about film into one movie. I cannot explain how much I love it enough. I love a romance too. I love Wall-E and Eve. Just the moments that they share together, the most adorable things in the entire world. They really are. Yeah, I just can't describe. I mean, I could talk about all the side. I could talk about Mo. I could talk about how much I love the idea that all of these little robots start to work together and they start to robots find more meaning to life on Earth than we ever did. Now, I don't want that to become our future for real, because AI is getting really scary. But I'm saying that, like, from a thematic standpoint for the movie, I mean, that, like, we are so disconnected as humans in that movie that the robots have to show us that we can be so much more crazy. What a wonderful, wonderful story. What a wonderful movie. I have no complaints with this movie. I think it is perfect from beginning to end. This is the one I will fight people on. WALL-E is perfect. WALL-E's a perfect movie. And that's why it is my favorite Pixar film of all time. That is 5 out of 5. I'll give it a 6 out of 5 if I could. And you know what? I can. 6 out of 5. But anyway, oh boy, this has been a long one. But if you've made it this far, whether you've been listening to this on your drive, whether you've been relaxing, listening to this just while you have a lot of work on in the background, I really appreciate it. I hope my ramblings weren't too distracting / too overwhelming. I suppose I can get really excited and kind of just repeat things over and over and over. But this is gonna be the journey. My arc with this is to just become a better podcaster, a better talker. I want to be able to expand the way I want people to verbalize the way that I feel about things a lot better. I've struggled with this all my life, honestly, being able to really describe exactly how I feel about something. And I want this to help me do that. And so if you're listening, you're a part of it too now. So thank you for being here. It's nice to know that people are listening, and nice to know that people are there and care about anything that I got to say. Again, all these are my opinions. These are all ideas found in the attic, So thank you all for listening. This has been the very first episode of Aiello's Attic. To many, many more, I hope. If all goes well, you should be getting the next episode, I believe, in 2 weeks. Let's see here. What day is that? It should be August 14th. Yes, it is August 14th. So you should be getting the next episode on August 14th. Looking forward to it. We don't know what it's about yet. Well, we'll see what's it about soon enough. It might be about Deltarune, honestly. I need to talk about Deltarune, so that might be what's going on next. So anyway, thank you all for listening. I love you all very much. Thank you for stepping into the attic with me. And this is Caden Aiello signing off for the night. Good night, everyone.